Now, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited has pledged to use 221,000 barrels of crude oil per day to service its $6.55 billion debt, as disclosed in their 2023 audited financial statement. However, the company has not specified how long this crude oil commitment will last. The NNPCL is said to be considering launching an initial public offering pending decisions by its shareholders and its board. Over the past few years, the company has shown significant growth, improving from a profit of 287 billion naira in 2020 to 3.3 trillion naira in 2023, reflecting both strategic management and operational resilience. Joining me on the news now is Temitope Kolade, Senior Manager, Oil, Gas and Power, Anderson, Nigeria. Thank you so much, Temitope, for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you too. Now, the NNPCL has announced plans to potentially launch an initial public offering, an IPO. What factors will influence the timing as well as the execution of the IPO?
Okay, thanks for that question. Apparently, there are a couple of factors to consider, but we may not be able to exhaust them on this session. But the key ones, I would say, things around investor sentiment and public perception. You would agree with me that public opinion would matter a lot. How the public who would buy into the shares of NNPCL perceive them, especially in terms of things around its management and even its ESG performance, things around its environmental, social, and governance structures would influence this sort of offering that they're putting out there. The roadshow and the marketing they will do would also impact that, but we also need to consider things around the political and economic stability of the country. When you look at the broader political environment in Nigeria at the moment, do we see favorable government policies towards the oil and gas sector, and particularly because largely it's the government that controls this entity at this time? Then we begin to talk about things around the transparency when it comes to financial performance and position, right? NNPCL in recent times has been publishing its financial statements. How much can the public rely on those? The corporate governance and how it's structured, the debt levels, you talked about the debt as well. These are things that investors would consider to put in their money into NNPC.
Right. And what are the implications of the NNPCL pledging 221,000 barrels of crude oil per day to offset its $6.55 billion debt? Is that not a bit of a reach? And how long is this commitment expected to last?
Well, in your report, you did mention that the period is not stated, but if we were to extrapolate, you would think that it will depend on the price of crude. So if you say that Brent crude, for instance, as of today is about $77 per barrel, it will take a bit above a year, like maybe 385 days of production and supply to pay back that. But it would also depend on the conditionalities around that forward contract, because basically that's a forward contract, and the forward price will depend on the terms of the negotiation, the current price, spot price of crude, things around interest rate, because it would mean that the person who is giving that advance would also consider the time value of money in agreeing the price at which is going to take the crude is not going to be exactly the same thing as you see in the market. The carrying costs, that's the delivery cost, and the expectations of the market over the period of time also would be considered. If it's going to last for a year or a year plus, right? So those are some of the things to consider, but I would expect that it will last for nothing less than a year with consistent production every day to deliver that much volume to the lender.
All right. Thank you so much for your thoughts on this. We appreciate your time with us on the news.
Thanks for having me.